I used to joke that this machine sat in the closet for 4 years and did absolutely nothing. But I'm going to tell you today, it's changed my whole life, and it has changed my whole outlook on life with everything you see here. And you could say I'm addicted, I guess. But I want to tell you how I became a quilter in retirement. So if you're new here, my name's Barry. I'm a retired electrician after 40 years, and I took up quilting as a hobby in retirement, and I'm going to tell you how I did it for those inquiring minds. In 2021, I really had never sewn, maybe just a little bit, but not anything more than just a little bit. But my daughter was going to Salem, and she loved the movie Hocus Pocus. So I decided I was going to make her a pillow that she could take with her. And so I went down to Joann Fabrics and I bought the Hocus Pocus fabric, and I watched some tutorials on YouTube to learn how to make a slip pillow. I made it. It turned out really good. I was actually shocked how good it turned out. I gave it to her, and I proceeded to put this in the closet, and it sat there for 4 years, or almost 4 years. And this room that you see here was just an empty room. I think if you go back to one of my very first videos, you see that it was not even painted. So I told my grandson, I said, we need to come out with a hobby that is both cool in the summer and warm in the winter, and that I could do in this room. And I would like to maybe make YouTube videos, because that's another hobby of mine. I said, well, I'll make YouTube videos and get me a hobby. And we made a list of things that I could do, and quilting come up on the list. And let me go back and tell you this. When I was approximately 10 years old, me and my cousin, for whatever reason, my parents thought it was a good idea to stick me and my cousin with my grandmother for a whole week. And I think we drove that lady crazy. I think she was at her wit's end with us. So she quilted, and back in the day it was cardboard cutouts. And she sat us down and had us trace the patterns out with the cardboard cutout, and use scissors and cut a seam allowance around. That was the first time I'd ever used big boy scissors, and I was just fascinated with watching her take these little squares and piece them together and create something with it. And that's always stuck with me. Fast forward to the 90s. I used to love to go up to Amish country, and I still love to go up to Amish country in Holmes County, Ohio is where I like to go. And I'm just fascinated as an electrician with maybe electrician doesn't have anything to do with it, but I loved all the different shapes and patterns that people make with quilts. So I've always been fascinated with quilts. So in the 90s, my local Joann Fabrics had a quilting class. And I decided, hey, I know I'm a guy, but I like quilts. I'm going to take a quilting class. When I went there, everybody looked at me in shock that I was in there. But I took the first class, and we learned how to make half square triangles. But I didn't go back, and I'll tell you why. Because when I got home and I made a half square triangle, it had these dog ears on the ends. And no one told me, and YouTube wasn't even around at the time, no one told me that you're supposed to cut those off. And I made several of them, and they kept coming up with those dog ears. I said, that's not the way that lady did it in the shop. I said, these things here on the ends weren't there. And I didn't pay attention that she'd cut them off. And I was like, this is too hard for me. And I just set it in the corner, mentally in the corner in my mind. And it just, I never touched it again. Fast forward to 2024, back when me and my grandson had made a decision that I said, I'm going to do something in this room. I said, I'll do rubber band collecting if people will watch. I thought it was funny. And I thought, seriously, that I'd only do about 3 or 4 videos. People would either like it or hate it, and I didn't know which one. So I started the channel. And I thought the name Barry Quilts because I'm Barry and I quilt. And it was sort of more like my friends, it was sort of a question. Barry Quilts? So that's the way I sort of got my name, is Barry Quilts. It wasn't a statement, it was a question mark. So I started quilting. I made 4 videos. I think it was the 4th video took off. And you guys have been supporting me and following me ever since. And you have fueled my addiction to quilting. I love this hobby. And so here's my thing about retirement. When I retired, I was sitting in my lazy boy recliner for the first couple years. I gained weight. My health went down. I became a full-blown diabetic. Every metric of my life was bad. And I decided I've got to change. And I took up quilting. And so my thing to you is, even if you don't want to quilt, even if you don't like to sew, no matter if you like to woodwork, it doesn't matter what you like to do, crochet, whatever. Find something that you have a passion for and do it. Because I truly believe, you know, they always say back in my day, and my thing to you is, if you can still breathe, it's still your day. So retirement doesn't mean that you got put out the pasture. Retirement is giving you a new opportunity to do the things that you love. And I'm lucky that I found something that I love, and I plan on continuing doing it. I hope you continue to watch because I think this is a blast. I've met a lot of people and I've become friends with a lot of people on this channel, and I hope to make that grow. But I just wanted to let you know, this was sort of my story, as roller coaster as it was, of how I started quilting. It was really a joke, but I'm glad that I'm so not glad that I did it. I'm thankful that I did it because it has literally changed my life. Fast forward to today. Since that time, because I started my weight loss journey at the same time that I started quilting, I've lost over 60 pounds, almost 70 pounds. My diabetes has went from 12.3 A1C down to 5.5. And if you know what that is, that means that's not even registered as a diabetic anymore. I'm exercising every day. I'm getting out. I'm meeting new people. I'm going to quilt shows, so I'm traveling. So this little hobby has literally changed my mind. It's changed my mind, and it's changed my life. And excuse me, the takeaway is, even if you don't decide to do quilting, do something that you're passionate about and live the best life ever. And I'll see you later. Bye.